So, I hate Drake.
I don't like anything about Drake. Mom, I don't like his voice. I don't like what he talks about. I don't.
See, I be trying to tell these people.
I don't like the way he walks. Like nothing. I don't like his haircut.
I hate Drake like he stole something from my little sister, and it's my life's work to get him back.
I hate Drake. Always have, always will.
I hate Drake like we're in a kung fu flick and he killed my master, and it's now my life's mission to get revenge.
Okay, so you all just had a few seconds to check out, you know, a little bit of Touré's most recent video about his 7 biggest reasons why he hates Drake. Touré's latest Drake video is a literal masterclass of everything that is wrong with hip hop culture. It really is. And it's unfortunate because Touré should be better than this, but this is the state of hip hop culture today, right? There was a time when Touré would have been seen as, you know, this great journalist and even a thought leader in the hip hop space, right? And now, absolutely not. Not if we're talking integrity, you know, in terms of his journalistic, opinion. And I mean, he's clearly biased. Some have even said he's compromised. I don't know that that's true, but listen, I mean, with takes like this, who would be surprised, right? Let's break down his 7 reasons, his 7 biggest reasons for hating Drake. Let's start with reason number 7. He says that Drake is corny, okay? In this reason, he says that Drake isn't cool. And this is a quote. He says, "I hate Drake's subversion of black cool." He believes that, to be the biggest hip hop star on the planet, that you should not only be cool, but a certain version of cool. And he specifically cites street urban culture, right? As like the archetype of what cool is in hip hop. That's problematic in and of itself, by the way. Okay. He says, he goes on to say that essentially, you know, hip hop fans should want to be the person, you know, that's the biggest rap star in the world, right? They should want to be you. They should want to dress like you. They should want to speak like you, and so on. Okay. And of all the problems with this, you know, reason of his, I'm going to sort of whittle it down to this one thing that I think is the biggest problem. It's the I hate Drake's subversion of black cool. It's that part. Because what he's saying in that statement is that Drake is sort of, you know, underhandedly, right? He's like covertly attempting to change what we see as cool. Okay. Now tell me why that's bad. Basically, the mistake that Touré is making is that he's confusing or conflating cool with gangster. Touré thinks that you have to be gangster in order to be cool as it relates to hip hop and being the biggest hip hop star on the planet. He believes that intrinsically that's what you gotta be, right? Think about how insane and insulting that would be with anything else. What if we said that you can't be the biggest boxing star on the planet unless you come from Louisville, Kentucky. Yep, you got to be 6'3", 220 pounds, and you have to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, right? That would be dumb. Yeah, Muhammad Ali was a great champion, but he's not the only sort of way, the way he went about it isn't the only way that it can be done, right? So he's conflating cool with gangster, which is not only a huge problem throughout hip hop. This is something that I've talked about ad nauseum over the past several months, and as being a huge problem and a great example of how gang culture has infiltrated hip hop and caused it to go completely left for years now. And we are suffering the effects of it, right? Reason number 6, Touré says that Drake is the McDonald's of hip hop. He says that hip hop is about nonconformity, and Drake isn't challenging politically or even sonically. Let's break this statement down a little bit. Let's start out with sonically, okay? For starters, obviously, I disagree with Touré. I believe that Drake is absolutely challenging politically. Yes. He's challenging even sonically. Yes. And even as a nonconformist, believe it or not, Drake has absolutely done all 3 of these things. Let me explain. Sonically, are you telling me that Drake hasn't crafted his own sound? His own, which includes the style he raps in, right? What do you mean the style he raps in? He raps like his rap style. It's pensive and sound. It's pensive, it's introspective, and it's vulnerable. He was that from the first moment we heard him up until today, right? He's also part R&B, right? Which many of you have complained about and whined about, but whatever. What about that is, sonically is sort of challenging? Well, that answer is really simple. It's challenging because this is a form of rebellion against hip hop itself. At the time when Drake began doing this, it was unheard of. Now it's the norm. But let's not give Drake his credit for changing the sound of hip hop, which many of you resent him for, but that's another story for another day. But that sonically is a form of rebellion. Sonically, it is absolutely nonconformist, right? In hip hop terminology, right? In the context of hip hop. Let's go politically, right? Drake isn't challenging politically, right? Touré says. Like who? The Notorious B.I.G.? Tell me about all the songs that Biggie made, all the verses that Biggie made, talking about capitalism being this evil, talking about freeing his people, right? Like, where are these verses from Biggie? From who? Jay-Z? Well, Jay-Z has rapped about political things. He certainly has. And then he's turned around and sold out friends of his, and I would argue, his people in general in a lot of ways, right? Now, some of you may disagree with me on that, and we could debate that fact. But the bottom line is who are you comparing Drake to, right? But let's talk about what Drake has done, that has been challenging politically, right? Drake has absolutely challenged the establishment. But many of you all who call yourselves part of the culture, you've done everything in your power to either ignore these things or to basically bully him into never doing some of these things again. Let me give you some examples. Early on in his career, I think this was back in 2010, remember Drake does the song with Snoop Dogg, right? With Snoop. the No Guns Allowed song, right? I believe Snoop's daughter sang on that as well. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember the young lady's name, right? No Guns Allowed, right? This was a song that was against, gun violence, school shootings, and those sorts of things, right? That's not challenging the establishment. That's not a quote unquote political song, right? What about the song that he did, Waving Flag, right? That's the song for Haiti after the devastating earthquake that they had, right? And this is around the same time. This is 2009, 2010, 2011-ish, something in there, right? That's where they do kind of the We Are the World style of, with all the young up and coming and many established stars from Canada. Drake didn't have to do that, but he did it. Is that not political, right? Did that not challenge the establishment? Here's the third and final example I'll give you for this one, okay? This is my favorite. The famous, or some would call infamous, blackface photo, okay? That Drake did. So, simply put, you all have maligned this photo so much that you have made a noble thing that Drake did into him selling his people out, which is the power of the nonsense that people saying something enough times can cause to happen. Drake did this blackface photo because it was part of a collage of other photos that Drake did in a project that was meant to bring awareness to the plight that people of color were experiencing in the arts, in film, in music, in the arts. So he literally was part of a project to protest people of color being discriminated against because of the color of their skin. And you idiots took that. You didn't go back to 2009 or 2010 or 2007 or 2008, whenever he did it. It was around those years. You didn't go back and get it at that time. No. You waited until Pusha T and UMG. But Pusha T shows you all this blackface video picture completely out of context because it wasn't just by itself. It was part of a collage, right? And of course, he makes that part of the story of Adidon and the whole thing, right? Or what I call, UMG's second attempt at doing what they did with Kendrick years later with Not Like Us. But that's neither here nor there. My point is this, is that those are some concrete examples of Drake's work politically, challenging the establishment. These are all nonconformist sort of acts. And what did you all do? You all shamed him, you all made fun of him, or you just flat out ignored the good work that he did literally at the very start of his career. He didn't have to do any of those things. Let's go to reason number 5. Touré goes, Drake doesn't really understand hip hop. And he cites the Tupac AI record, right? Which I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on that because quite honestly, had Kendrick Lamar done the same thing, you all would have loved it. You all would have said, Kendrick Lamar brings Tupac Shakur back from the dead. Tupac and Kendrick should do an album together. Drake does it and you go, this is a harbinger for the end of hip hop. He doesn't understand hip hop. He hates black people. Did you know that Drake actually hates Tupac Shakur? Y'all are gross. Touré also cites the bar that Kendrick is rapping like he's trying to get the slave freed, right? Then he goes, is Drake not trying to get the slaves freed? And Touré, the answer is no. No, he isn't. And neither is Kendrick Lamar. which was Drake's point. I love how you all don't read off the rest of that bar, right? From Drake, right? The part where he says, you're not even planting money trees in your own hood, meaning you're not even doing all this good, all this freeing of slaves, all of this freeing our people in the place that you have made part of your identity from the moment you came out. He's calling Kendrick a hypocrite. That's the point of that bar, and the rest of it that you all refuse to read. Then he finally cites the control verse. He says, it wasn't a diss. If Kendrick, named you in the control verse, it meant that Kendrick was your peer. So Drake took it wrong. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. The bottom line is this. Kendrick didn't have any right rapping that verse and saying Drake's name based on everything that Drake had done for him up until that point. Drake knows that Kendrick wasn't actually dissing him. He's not stupid. He knows that. Drake's annoyance, and rightfully so, was because he knew what Kendrick was actually doing, which was clout chasing. And we all know it too. You all just like the WWE lying, drama approach. You want the soap opera approach to hip hop, and then you're gonna go and call these guys fake when you get tired of it. And Drake's like, no, if it's real, let it be real. If Drake had rapped the control verse about Kendrick and the others, you all would be saying the same exact thing that Drake did. And you'd be calling Drake fake. You'd be saying it's real out here, Drake. People actually do get murdered. People actually do have these things happen to them. Don't go rapping this stuff that you didn't live, that you don't know about. Kendrick doesn't. You go, it's genius. It's the most brilliant thing we've ever seen. Reason number 4. He's a Manosphere rapper, which is dumb. And Touré goes on to give 0 supporting evidence of this. 0, which is why I'm going to spend the least amount of time on this one, possible. He goes, plus he's weirdly supportive of Tory Lanez. What is this argument that I've heard not only Touré but others make? What do you mean weirdly supportive? He supports Tory Lanez because that's his friend. That's his fellow Canadian and his friend. And his friend. So he doesn't believe that Meg got, hurt by Tory Lanez. He doesn't believe that Tory Lanez is guilty of these things. He's spoken to Tory Lanez, ad nauseum about the night in question and everything leading up to it, right? And whatever other things he's heard or spoken with other people behind the scenes about. So the bottom line is he doesn't believe her, he believes his buddy. There's what are we talking about? Like, this is not complicated, right? And yeah, he has been critical of Meg Thee Stallion. He's had a Meg Thee Stallion bar or two in his songs that are negative. They've all occurred after Tory Lanez was arrested and or convicted of a crime that Drake, because he's Tory Lanez's friend, doesn't believe he committed. Now, forget if you agree with him or not. I'm just saying this is the reason why. So let's take the word weirdly supportive out. There's nothing weird about it, right? If my mom got arrested for capital murder or for second-degree murder, and she swears to me that she didn't do it, I'm gonna believe my mother. I'm gonna believe my brother. I'm gonna believe my buddy, right? Okay. Reason number 3. He says that Drake uses ghostwriters. And for some reason, he also mentions ghostwriters and payola. I believe that Touré has an agenda with throwing payola in there, because it's literally completely irrelevant to this reason that he gives, altogether. And I'll keep this one short as well. Drake's mortal enemy before Kendrick Lamar was Kanye West, right? And Kanye West, in no uncertain terms, every chance he's gotten, has acknowledged that Drake is one of the best rappers and writers of all time. And that Drake, quote, is worth 12 ghostwriters. So if Drake does use ghostwriters to the degree that Touré is asserting, we're not talking about somebody writing a hook here or there, right? Because if that's your criticism of Drake, awesome. Then Jay-Z uses ghostwriters, Nas uses ghostwriters, Biggie uses ghostwriters. Every rapper that you know, every great writer you know, including Kendrick Lamar, uses ghostwriters if we're gonna play that game. But we're not playing that game because you all aren't talking about hooks. Y'all are talking about whole songs, right? Therefore, if you all, and specifically Touré, is asserting that Drake uses ghostwriters, and this is one of the many reasons why he, biggest reasons that he hates Drake, well then Drake would be the first prolific ghostwriter, right? He's written for Beyonce, he's written for, Alicia Keys, he's written for, all of these great artists, right? Kanye West and all these great, artists, R&B, soul, and, neo soul and hip hop. He'd be the first ghostwriter in the history of hip hop to have ghostwriters. So unless we're making history today, I ain't buying that one. I need more evidence, okay? All right, reason number 2. Touré says Drake doesn't say the N-word correctly. Listen to me. I'll dedicate one sentence to this stupidity, okay? Before Kendrick Lamar's diss song, where he said, that about Drake, that he doesn't want to hear Drake using the N-word, not one of you, not Touré, not Talib Kweli, right? Not one of you ever said this about Drake. Not one of you ever had this criticism of Drake. Not one of you. Then Kendrick releases this diss track. Now all of a sudden, you know what? I didn't realize it until Kendrick said it. But you know what? I don't like Drake using the N-word either. Shut it. Hell out of here with that. That's so lame. Even if you felt that, that is gross. That is gross. And it's nonsense. Drake doesn't say the N-word any differently than any of y'all say it. Shut the hell up. Ugh, y'all are so lame. And then the number one reason, which we could have all guessed, right? Which is the lawsuit, okay? Touré says, quote, so let me get this straight. He lost a fair fight to Kendrick, and his first thought was to call his attorney and tell them to sue his own label? Really? A fair fight? A fair fight. Like you're saying this with a straight face. A fair fight. 2 albums worth of artists preemptively attacked Drake. First, the lead single off of that first album, by the way, the first album of 2 albums that came out 3 weeks apart. The lead single of the first album happens to feature Kendrick Lamar. It goes number 1. Then as the battle ensues, Kendrick's diss tracks just happen to perfectly, strategically coincide and fall in line with Drake's diss tracks and Drake's rebuttals, right? Therefore, Drake's rebuttals are rendered effectively neutralized, right? They don't hit the mark the way that they would have had Kendrick's timing not been perfect, right? Come on, man. My ears work. My ears work, my eyes work. And you will not get me to believe that UMG didn't have their thumb on the scales from this battle from the word go. Okay? I've talked about this ad nauseum. We don't have to recount it now. But let me tell you all something. The reason why Touré's latest Drake video is a masterclass in every single thing that's wrong with hip hop culture is because in order for him to make this list, he had to ignore undeniable truths about the Drake-Kendrick battle that anyone with a working pair of eyes and a working brain could not possibly ignore.